In the wake of 9/11, thousands of Canadians went to Afghanistan to fight the Taliban. But long before that war, a Canadian journalist was already there. She would become one of the most respected authorities on this beleaguered nation, and she would pay a high price for her work. This is Kathy Gannon's story. 1986. The Soviet invasion of Afghanistan is 7 years old. Border towns in Pakistan teem with Afghan refugees and leaders of the Mujahideen. Kathy Gannon is 32. She will scale these treacherous mountain passes tracked by Soviet helicopters. But the dangers do not only come from the vast and troubled sky.
One of the Mujahideen took a misstep and he was killed, and everybody just stopped. I mean, it was horrible. It was just, I mean, it's the kind of image you never, ever get rid of.
It would be a terrifying journey and the start of a remarkable career. She would be in the region for almost 3 decades and become the Associated Press special regional correspondent.
I think I've always sort of just tried to press forward, you know, always doing everything I could and never being in a position where I think, gee, I should have done this, or why didn't I do this?
Amongst volatile fighters on treacherous mountain paths, she learned to control her fear early in her storied career.
One thing with the Mujahideen is you really had to show that you weren't weak, and so I would, but they took a lot of breaks. I didn't need a lot of breaks, but I could walk, but I try to stay ahead of them a little bit so that while they're taking a break, I'm walking and then I could take a break. So they never saw me really tired.
That kind of chutzpah, coupled with a lifelong passion to get out in the field and tell the people's story, has made Kathy Gannon one of the foremost chroniclers of the devastation heaped upon Afghanistan.
You know, if you trace all these conflicts, it's all about power. You know, it's not about ideology, it's not about religion, it's not about a better place, it's all about power.
Though he is not in custody.
Her encyclopedic knowledge and her generosity helped many of her colleagues.
Kathy Gannon has an amazing thing that she will not share a scoop, but she will help every single reporter that she can.
She was the one we'd always call first when we landed in country.
Not all great journalists are kind, and Kathy Gannon is indisputably both.
Gannon has seen all the brutal sides of this conflict, from the vicious Mujahideen infighting to the rise of the Taliban, from Hamid Karzai's government to the arrival of Western forces. But it is the people she makes time for. The shrouded women.
You all are not cooperating.
The village men on the butt end of a dressing down by U.S. forces. And those she would find after a city lay in ruins. For her, it's not about what side you're on. The job of the journalist is to control the narrative.
Whether it's the U.S. government, the Canadian government, the Afghan government, the Pakistani government, or the Afghan soldiers, or no one else should be controlling the narrative. You should know the story, you should be looking for the story and try to give as full a picture as you can.
But for a small town girl from Timmins, Ontario, hearing what the ordinary villager thinks is critical to telling the Afghan story.
I tell you, that's the best part of my job. I love going out and I love talking to people and I love getting their stories. Sometimes, you know, you come back and you think, oh, now I gotta write it.
In April, Kathy and her friend and colleague, the renowned photographer Anya Niedringhaus, were covering the start of the Afghan elections. A unit commander assigned to guard them opened fire. Anya was killed instantly. Kathy was seriously injured.
I looked down and my hand was separated from my wrist, from my arm, and Anya was on the shooter was on the left, and Anya was sitting beside me. And I didn't know at the time because I looked and I could just see the side, and she looked fine, but she wasn't saying anything. And we were both, you know, our shoulders pressed against each other. It was as if we were trying to hold each other up.
Kathy took 6 bullets in her arm, shoulder, and hand. Her sister, Patricia Ann, a retired nurse, has been at her side throughout. She is slowly regaining the use of her hands and, astonishingly, planning a return to Afghanistan.
Absolutely, absolutely, we'll go back. And go back working until I decide when I want to leave.
Kathy is courageous and determined to tell the truth about the lives of the people she chronicles.
And it's going to be a marathon. It's not a sprint, but we've got a plan.
Kathy Gannon, winner of the CJFE 2014 Tara Singh Hire Memorial Award.